Hello everyone, welcome to the University of Minnesota School of Public Health Ambassador Chats. My name is Elise and today I'm here with 3 of our student ambassadors who are going to talk to you a little bit about what it's like to live and work in the Minneapolis and St. Paul areas. Before we get started, we'll just do some quick introductions.
Hi, I'm Zach Mano. I'll be starting my second year and I am an EPI student.
Hi, I'm Bharat Balyan. I'm a recent graduate and I was an environmental health major.
Hi, my name is Abhi Ramesh. I'm also starting my second year this fall and I'm an MCH student.
Awesome. So today I will just be listing out some questions that we get asked a lot by prospective students and incoming students, and we'll just have a little bit of discussion about each person's personal experiences and some good things to know about finding housing and living and working in the area. Okay, so our first question is, what areas do students commonly live in?
I live just down the street in Prospect Park. It's right on the light rail line, so easy public transit to get to campus. But I also know that students commonly live in Dinkytown, just north west of campus, or uptown, kind of in the southwest side of Minneapolis. Where do you guys live?
So I live in a part of campus called Stadium Village, which is on the East Bank campus, and it's very close to all the public health classes, and that too, it's also by the light rail, like Zach mentioned as well.
And I live on the west bank of campus, so just one light rail stop away from East Bank, which is primarily where most classes are. And then a couple other areas people live. Northeast Minneapolis is a pretty common place. A lot of cool things to do there. And also another neighborhood northeast itself is can't remember the name. Marcy Homes. Yes.
Okay. Okay, the next question is, what neighborhoods are quiet and what neighborhoods have nightlife and more things to do?
So Stadium Village, where I mentioned before where I live, tends to be a little more quieter just because there's a lot of graduate students there, and a lot of the St. Paul apartments, as you go further down the light rail in that direction, tends to be a lot quieter from my experience and other classmates that I've had. So, what about you guys?
Yeah, I'd say definitely if you want more kind of the nightlife scene, a little more things going around. Uptown is definitely one of those areas where probably the most, I guess, nightlife place is Uptown, I'd say. But also other areas that Northeast Minneapolis is another place where a lot of things are going on. Not nearly as crazy, I guess, as Uptown, but yeah, those are like kind of the two top places where a lot of things are going on.
Yeah, when I frequently want to have a good time with some friends, I go out to Uptown. But like I said, I live in Prospect Park, which is a very quiet neighborhood. Not many restaurants. It's not much to do over there. So it's nice and quiet if that's what you're looking for.
So how far away are the areas like Uptown and Northeast? Like how long can a student expect to be traveling for if they live in those areas?
I guess it depends on your mode of transportation.
That's true.
Do either of you live in those areas?
I don't, but neither of them are accessible from the light rail.
You take a bus, I think, in about like 20 to 30 minutes, probably. Probably closer to 20 minutes.
Yeah, I'd say about 20 minutes to each of them on the bus.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so they're pretty easy to access from either a bus or a light rail or some mode of public transportation, but in the winter it does take a little bit longer, especially this winter we did have a lot of snow, so it is something to factor into a commute time if that's something that you're thinking about. Okay, so on that note, the next question is, how do you typically get to school and work?
Like I said, I live just down the street, and so I frequently walk. It's about 15 minutes. Gets my steps in for the day, both here and back home. But if it's raining, windy, snowy, I jump on the light rail, and it's just 2 stops. It takes all of 4 or 5 minutes. What do you guys?
Yeah, I live on the west bank of campus, so typically when the weather is good, I just hop on my bike and get on campus in about 5 minutes. You can also walk, which takes about 15 minutes, and then the light rail just takes once again 5 minutes or so, and then you're there.
Yeah, same with me. I live close enough where I can walk or take the light rail, so a lot of options to get to class and wherever you need to go.
All right, so bouncing off that last question, I'd like to know, what is public transit like? How often is it available, and how much does it cost?
Yeah, I can go with that one. So, you can get a U-Pass each semester, which is about $115 per semester, I believe, which is a really good deal if you use public transit frequently to get around. And in terms of frequency, the light rail is probably the most reliable option. I think during the day, it's every stop is like you have to wait like 10 minutes maybe until the next one shows up. But like at nighttime, it gets a little like if really late night, you can wait about maybe half an hour per between trains. But then other buses come. There's the 2 and the 3, which are very common buses people take around here. That are go by campus quite a bit. Those are I would say 10 or 15 minutes too. So the frequency is pretty good for common routes, but if you're going some more further distances, it can be a little less reliable. But keep in mind, in the winter time, you never know. So
They do a really good job at keeping all the buses and light rails running in the winter. The light rail's my bread and butter. I rely on it for everything to get downtown, to get to campus. I travel semi frequently, so I use it to get to the airport as well. Very reliable, really convenient.
And I also want to add, there's another option on campus called Nice Ride, where you can actually like rent a bike for a day, or if you can get a membership and also rent a bike. So if you don't want to take the train, or you don't want to take a bus, you can always bike to wherever you need to go as well.
Yeah. Do you guys ever use the campus buses at all?
Yep.
hmm Yeah, the campus buses they go around the Minneapolis and St. Paul campuses, and they're free. So and they're pretty reliable during the day. When it gets past normal school hours, it can be a little longer for a wait, but they're still a pretty good option if you don't want to pay for the Metro Transit.
So the next question we have is, do you need a car to live near campus?
No.
Nope.
I have a car. It does not get used very frequently. I moved it, I think, 3 or 4 times this winter, and that was just due to our snow emergencies. I don't think I very, very infrequently use my car.
Yeah, I don't even own a car, and I'm able to get around just fine.
Yeah, same with me. And I mean, I went here for undergrad as well, and I've had some off-campus jobs, and I've always taken buses and relied on light rails, so it's very easy to get around. So.
And public transit's more reliable than my personal vehicle.
Yeah.
Kind of related to the last few questions, our next question is, does winter snow and weather affect your ability to go to school and work?
Yes. This is Minnesota, and so it takes quite a lot for campus to close. I believe we only had about 24 hours of closure this last year through the winter vortex? Is that what we were
Polar
calling
vortex.
it? Polar vortex. So just plan a little extra time and make sure you dress warm.
Yeah, I think it definitely does affect. It's gonna snow here. It's Minnesota. But all you have to really do is plan ahead. Make sure you give us enough ample time for how many delays you have with either if you drive your vehicle or if transit might be behind. Put that into account as well. But I work at Ramsey County Public Health, and they've never. I think maybe one day they're like, yeah, just don't come if you really can't. But otherwise, I've definitely worked from home sometimes, like if I have the option to do that, but so yeah, it's doable. Like nothing really, we're prepared to deal with the snow here. So just as long as you're smart about it and make sure you have enough extra time for yourself to get to where you need to be.
Yeah, I agree with everything they said when it comes to transportation and planning. And also another thing that's awesome about this campus is that we have underground tunnels, so it doesn't really affect you too much as long as you get to school, like you'll be able to get around and won't have to walk around too much when it comes to the harsh winters we have.
Yeah, and Metro Transit does a really good job at keeping all of their apps updated on delays and schedule.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to the topic of housing. Our next question is, what is the average rent cost here, and what kind of apartment can you get for this price?
So I do know that I believe financial aid thinks a one-bedroom apartment costs between $850 and $900 a month. I am currently looking for housing for the upcoming school year, and I know that's a little low. I'm expecting to pay between $900 and $1,000 for a one-bedroom apartment, and that would be cheaper if I had roommates.
Yeah, and jumping on that, I currently live in West Bank, and I'm paying about between with utilities and everything included between $600 and $700 a month for my own bedroom, and this is a three-bedroom, two-bathroom apartment, um, and that's reasonably kind of on the lower side of things, but it really depends on kind of the location and the type of building you live in.
And like kind of a trend that happens on campus when it comes to housing is the closer you live to campus, it kind of tends to be a little bit more expensive, and then the more you kind of spread out, it tends to go down. Again, that varies depending on the neighborhood and everything, but that's usually the general trend that we see in housing on campus. So.
So our next question is, what is the average cost for utilities for your apartment?
So we were actually discussing this a little bit before the video and how utilities differ. Like I said, I'm looking for housing for the upcoming school year, and most of the places I've looked at roll almost all the utilities into the rent. And so I'd only have to pay electricity and internet. And I believe that's going to be about between $45 and $50 a month. But what about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. I agree with what Zach said. I'm actually paying like 40 to 50 a month for my utilities, and it's combined into my rent. So, and then I think yours is
Yeah,
different.
yeah. For me, our utilities are not combined, so we have our rent fee, and then we have our utility fee, and that typically, for me, I pay between like $50 or $60 a month, I'd say. So not too far from the range of these two.
Okay, so our next question is, how did you find your apartment, and what are good places to use for searching for housing?
I got pretty lucky with my search. The university provides kind of a roommate finder website, and I found a roommate on there who already had an apartment, and I just jumped onto his lease. So mine was really convenient.
Yeah, and I just did a variety of options. One thing, just literally just going to Google Maps and type in apartments and like the area around campus, and then I just clicked on the different things and went to their websites to figure out rent and how to contact them for looking at lease options. That's how I found my current apartment that I live in. But I know other websites like apartments.com is a really good option that lets you pick on the things that are important to you and what you want in your apartment and things that you don't care as much about. And it gives you kind of a curated list of places that would that match the best in terms of what you're looking for in a place to live.
Yeah, and like I mentioned earlier, I actually went here for undergrad, so the apartment that I'm currently in is one that I stayed in earlier, and so I got lucky in that way that I'm familiar with campus. But I know that another common outlet for people to use to find roommates is Facebook, because Facebook usually has housing pages that you can join where all the current students are on, and they're always posting, hey, I need a roommate. So there's a lot of ways to connect with different students on campus to try to find housing.
And other places to search that I've been searching recently, Zillow is pretty useful. And if you're really careful about how you search and who you talk to, Craigslist can actually be a really good resource.
Yeah. Bouncing off the Facebook post, we do have our admitted and incoming class Facebook page. So you have the option to post on there and talk to some of your fellow classmates that will be coming in as well and see if they're looking for places or have any suggestions for you. The next question is, what is the general safety level, and do you normally feel safe when you're on campus and around your home?
Definitely. Definitely. I frequently walk down to campus in the evenings just to walk around on nice nights, just to walk around campus because it's a very beautiful campus. And I've never once felt like my security was a concern.
Yeah, I think I feel pretty safe too on campus. It's a pretty well lit overall, and it's mostly very safe. And then when it comes to where you live, I think wherever you live, you just need to be smart. Just thinking about when it's late at night, you don't want to be walking alone. Just make sure you have somebody with you, because just the smart thing to do. No matter where you live, things can happen, but as long as you're smart about it and have people around you, you should be pretty safe.
And like campus has a lot of measures also to like protect the students. Like campus police are always around, and then there's also an option called 624 walk, which if you're walking around late at night and you're coming back from the library, you have the option to have someone walk you home if you're living near campus. So there's a lot of options for you to be careful and be safe.
Our next question is, what activities do you like to do, and does this area provide opportunities for you to do them?
Yes.
Yeah, there are lots of opportunities to do things. So, I mean, just for one, just if you want to be active, like doing any sort of sports, recreation, working out, the rec center itself here is phenomenal. It was built in 2013, and so it's a very new facility. Great ways to get active around here. You have intramural sports. You can find people to play with, soccer, basketball, like all the options for you there. And I really like biking. So, and Minneapolis is one of the best places in the country for biking, with all the bike lane options and all the great trails. There's lots of beautiful places to bike, and so this is definitely very accommodating for people who like to do a lot of active things with their free time.
Yeah, I agree with everything he said, and especially like when it comes to the outdoors. But if you're looking for more like food and restaurants, that's also an option. I'm a Minnesota native, and I always find myself like finding new places, no matter like whenever I go, like especially during the summertime. A lot of restaurants, there's like a rooftop restaurants and stuff. So downtown, uptown, there's like a lot of places to like go explore too.
And out in Uptown, in the summers, spring, sometime in the early fall, they also offer outdoor movies and music, and it's free for everyone to come out and watch. I moved here from Washington, so I'm a big fan of hiking. There are a lot of day hikes in the area, down along the river. We have a few waterfalls, so plenty to do.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other like Minneapolis is a pretty big city, so you've got all the major sports here.
Theaters, lots of
Theaters.
theaters.
Yeah.
One of the highest, I think behind New York City, we have the second highest theaters per capita here, so lots to do with that. And the music scene's also very good. Lots of great venues. First Avenue, one of the classic places to go. Then a lot of the stadiums too. Lots of big names come there pretty often. So.
What about in the winter? Do you feel like people are still able to be active and do activities?
Who likes hockey? There are ice rinks pitched up all around the city in every park. So if you're interested in playing hockey or learning to skate, there's ample opportunity.
There's a lot of like different snow activities. I don't know, you can go skiing, sledding, snowboarding.
Yeah.
Snowshoeing? People
Snowshoeing.
really like.
Yeah, but it's obviously wintertime. People do kind of hunker down a little bit, but there are ways to stay active and have fun things to do. It's easy to get around for the most part, even in the winter. So, you can still have fun during the winter.
And the rec is open during the winter.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and our next question is, do you have any favorite local places to study, whether that be on campus or in your apartment or around town?
Well, we have a public health lounge on campus called the Sphere that I study in a lot, and a lot of my friends do. So that's convenient because like our classes are in the same building, so if we're doing class, it's just easy to go down there and work on stuff. But what about you?
Yeah, that's definitely one of the main places. Other areas on campus, the libraries are pretty good. The biomedical library, which is not too far from Mayo, it's in the building next over. That's very nice for doing a lot of studying. It's a very quiet place. Wilson Library is also pretty good. Um, but if you want to go off campus a little bit, there's plenty of good coffee shops around here. Just in my area, I know like the West Bank, Seward neighborhood. There's Precision Grind, Hard Times Cafe is another cool place. Those are a couple that come to my mind.
Yeah, there are a lot of places on campus, and like I said, like Abby said, we have our own lounge, and that's where I do most of my work because I have access to uh, the school computers, printing, all of those sort of things. But if I'm taking meetings, I like to take them usually at some of the coffee shops around campus. So yeah, there's plenty of places.
Yeah, and we pretty much have a Caribou in every block as well. So
Yeah,
there's that.
We do.
and Starbucks.
Yeah.
Starbucks.
Okay, so our next question about housing is how did you furnish your apartment and where can you go to get furniture?
I packed all of my stuff into a Ford Focus and drove here across the country, so I had no furniture when I ended up here. And I actually furnished the majority of my apartment from IKEA because we have one down by Mall of America. But I also know that the university has a warehouse of old furniture that they do sell, and they even have sales on occasionally, and that's usually get posted on Facebook.
Yeah, and a lot of places. So I live in the Twin Cities. My family's from here, so I was able to get a good amount from my parents' home, but also I know Facebook Marketplace. That's a really I got a good amount of furniture from there. People, there's a bunch of people selling things all across the city, and even further out if you're willing to drive to get something for a good deal. But yeah, Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, of course, is an option. Um, and then yeah, sometimes your friends just ask your friends. They might have some stuff. I know I was able to get some stuff from people who don't want their old furniture.
And if you don't want to bring your own furniture, I've always lived in apartments that have furnished, have it ready. So depending on the apartment as well or where you live, you can also just get a furnished place. So.
Okay, so our next question is where are grocery stores located? Like how close are they to where you live? How convenient are they? And what are the options that you have?
So I have a small Fresh Time about a block away from my apartment, and so that's where I go for my yogurt and produce. But I drive over to I believe it's Seward neighborhood, to go to the Cub grocery store there to do the stuff I need a lot more of.
Yeah, and for people who don't have access to a car, there are options. Like you mentioned, the Fresh Time. That's right off the Green Line, actually, right by the Prospect Park station. And their prices are pretty decent, actually, for some produce, like you were talking about. Some other items can be a little more expensive, but I definitely say it's one of the better ones that are around the campus area, at least. Otherwise, there's a lot of food co-ops around Minneapolis. Seward Co-op is one that's the closest to campus. That can be kind of pricey. So depending on what your budget is, that can be a little out of budget for some folks, but it's certainly an option. But there is a couple of new services around the university campus. There's the food pantry that we have on campus. I think it's can't remember if it's like once or twice a month.
I'm not sure.
I've gotten emails about it, and so I think you can come to Coffin Union, the student union here, and once a week you can get like very cheap groceries. I think, or it's free actually. You can just pick it up and you can take it for that. And then there's this new program called Brightside UMN. It's a newer program that just started. It's kind of like a CSA where you can pay between $3 and $20 and have a produce and grocery pickup at the old Bell Museum here on campus, and so that's a new option. It's kind of rolling out, kind of new pilot program. You might hear more about it once you start here at the University of Minnesota.
And like further along the light rail from what Zach and Barth were saying about Fresh Time, there's actually a strip mall if you keep going down towards St. Paul that they have a Cub, and then they also have some other stores if you want to do some other types of shopping as well.
And I know in Dinkytown, just northwest of campus, the Target also does a lot of food sales and,
Yeah.
They do, yeah.
and
It's
grocery
a Target
stores.
Express, so it's not
Yeah.
doesn't have the whole range of things, but it's pretty good if you're in a pinch. And there are like CVS and Walgreens right on campus.
Yeah.
It's more expensive, obviously, but if you need to grab something quick, those are options as well.
Also in our student union, we have just a little like Gopher Mart. So if you're just picking up any quick snacks, you can head there. Some of our students who live in the Como neighborhood will go to the area that's called the Quarry, and that's a whole bunch of shops, and that includes a Target and a Cub Foods as well. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you were able to learn something about living and working here in the Minneapolis and St. Paul areas. If you ever have any questions, you are free to contact us at sph-ask@umn.edu, and we can connect you with someone here on campus who can help you, or our student ambassadors as well. Thanks for joining us.